Today, we're discussing Bell's palsy, an acute peripheral paralysis of the seventh cranial nerve, also known as the facial nerve. This disorder primarily affects the muscles of facial expression and typically presents as sudden unilateral facial weakness. In this lecture, we'll walk through the complete clinical picture, the pathophysiology behind the nerve inflammation, the classic signs and symptoms nurses must recognize, major diagnostic priorities, medical treatment strategies, and the nursing interventions that protect patient safety and recovery. One of the most important concepts to remember is this: Bell's palsy is a peripheral nervous system disorder, not a cortical stroke. That distinction becomes extremely important during assessment because facial paralysis can immediately trigger stroke concerns in both patients and healthcare providers. We'll also focus heavily on eye protection, nutrition, communication, psychosocial impact, and patient education, because many complications actually occur from loss of facial muscle control, rather than from the nerve inflammation itself. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to recognize Bell's palsy quickly, understand the underlying mechanisms, and safely manage both the acute and recovery phases of care. Bell's palsy is defined as an idiopathic facial paralysis involving cranial nerve VII, the facial nerve. The word idiopathic means we do not know the exact cause with certainty, but several strong theories exist. The leading theory involves reactivation of dormant viral infections, especially herpes simplex virus or herpes zoster virus. Another possible contributor is autoimmune inflammation directed against the nerve. Now let's think about what actually happens physiologically. The facial nerve becomes inflamed and swollen inside a very narrow facial canal. As edema increases, the nerve gets compressed, blood flow decreases, and ischemic injury can begin developing. That impaired nerve conduction is what produces the sudden facial weakness we see clinically. Bell's palsy can occur at almost any age, but it is most commonly seen between ages 15 and 45. And one major teaching point for nurses: patients are often terrified they are having a stroke. Part of our role is helping differentiate Bell's palsy from central neurologic events, while also providing reassurance and emotional support. Now let's break down what is happening physiologically inside the facial nerve. This process begins with inflammation. The facial nerve becomes swollen and edematous, usually after viral reactivation or inflammatory irritation. The problem is that cranial nerve VII travels through an extremely narrow bony canal within the skull. That creates a choke point. As edema increases, the swollen nerve has nowhere to expand, so compression begins. That compression then pinches the vascular supply feeding the nerve. Once blood flow becomes critically impaired, ischemia develops, and ischemia means oxygen delivery is now inadequate to support normal nerve function. As the nerve becomes ischemic, conduction slows or completely fails, producing facial paralysis. This is why Bell's palsy can appear suddenly and dramatically. The patient may go from normal facial movement to profound unilateral weakness within hours. One major nursing implication: early treatment matters. Rapid administration of corticosteroids helps reduce inflammation before prolonged ischemic injury develops. That is one reason prompt diagnosis and intervention are so important in Bell's palsy management. Bell's palsy typically presents with sudden unilateral facial weakness or paralysis. And because the facial nerve controls muscles of expression, the entire affected side of the face may appear dramatically different. Patients often develop drooping of the mouth, flattening of the nasolabial fold, and difficulty fully closing the eye. Because blinking is impaired, excessive tearing may occur. Ironically, the eye waters because tears are not being distributed correctly across the cornea. Patients may also report facial pain, discomfort behind the ear, altered taste sensation, or deep aching around the jaw or eye. Speech may become mildly slurred because lip control is weakened. Eating becomes difficult as food collects in the affected cheek and drooling develops. One of the most important assessment findings is forehead involvement. In Bell's palsy, the forehead is affected because this is a peripheral cranial nerve lesion. That means the patient cannot wrinkle the forehead or raise the eyebrow on the affected side. This becomes a major clue when differentiating Bell's palsy from stroke. And emotionally, many patients become extremely distressed by the sudden facial asymmetry. Some are afraid to look in the mirror or speak in public. So nursing care is not only physical management, it is also psychological reassurance and support. One of the most critical priorities in Bell's palsy is ruling out stroke. Patients often arrive terrified because the facial drooping looks dramatic and sudden. But Bell's palsy is a peripheral facial nerve paralysis, not a central cortical event. Here's the major distinction. In Bell's palsy, the entire side of the face is affected, including the forehead. The patient cannot wrinkle the forehead, raise the eyebrow, or tightly close the eye. In many strokes, the forehead is spared because the upper facial muscles receive bilateral cortical innervation. That means stroke patients may still wrinkle the forehead, even though the lower face droops. Another important point, Bell's palsy usually occurs without arm weakness, leg weakness, aphasia, or altered level of consciousness. Still, stroke must always be considered first until properly evaluated. Now, emotionally, reassurance becomes a major nursing intervention. Patients frequently fear permanent disability or disfigurement. Many immediately assume they are having a devastating neurologic event. So, one of the first things nurses often say is, "This is Bell's palsy. It is not a stroke." That reassurance alone can significantly reduce panic and anxiety. And the good news is that most patients recover substantially or completely over time, especially when treatment begins early. Successful Bell's palsy management requires both medical management and nursing management working in parallel. The medical team focuses primarily on preserving nerve function and reducing long-term denervation injury. That includes corticosteroid therapy, pain control, and targeted physiologic treatment strategies aimed at reducing inflammation and supporting nerve recovery. Meanwhile, nursing management focuses on protecting the patient from secondary complications caused by facial paralysis itself. That includes ocular protection, facial muscle rehabilitation, nutrition support, communication assistance, and psychosocial care. This distinction is important. Medical management treats the inflamed nerve. Nursing management protects the patient while the nerve recovers. And in Bell's palsy, some of the most serious complications are actually preventable nursing complications, especially corneal injury from incomplete eye closure. Patient education also becomes critical. Many patients need teaching regarding eye care, facial exercises, safe eating strategies, and emotional coping during recovery. So this is truly an interprofessional condition where outcomes improve when both tracks of care operate together. One of the most important concepts in Bell's palsy treatment is the 72-hour therapeutic window. Early intervention dramatically improves outcomes. First-line treatment is corticosteroid therapy, usually prednisone. Steroids reduce nerve inflammation and edema, helping decrease compression within the facial canal before prolonged ischemic injury develops. The earlier steroids are started, ideally within the first 72 hours, the greater the chance of full recovery. Patients may also require analgesics for facial discomfort or pain around the ear and jaw. In some cases, electrical stimulation or facial muscle exercises are introduced to help maintain muscle tone and reduce atrophy during recovery. Now, occasionally, surgical decompression has been explored as a treatment option. However, this remains controversial and is not routinely recommended, because most patients recover successfully with conservative therapy alone. One major nursing role is ensuring rapid recognition and referral, so treatment begins early enough to maximize recovery potential. Because in Bell's palsy, timing matters. The number one nursing priority in Bell's palsy is eye protection. Why? Because the patient often cannot fully close the affected eyelid. Without normal blinking, the cornea becomes exposed to dryness, irritation, debris, and potential abrasion. And severe corneal injury can permanently affect vision. During the daytime, patients should use moisturizing eye drops frequently and wear wraparound glasses or protective goggles to shield the eye from air drafts and debris. At night, protection becomes even more important. Ocular ointment helps maintain prolonged moisture while sleeping. Some patients also require an eye patch or physical eye shield to prevent accidental trauma and excessive drying overnight. A very important teaching point: patients may need to manually close the eyelid with their fingers before sleep, because the weakened muscles cannot reliably maintain closure. This sounds simple, but it is a major safety intervention. Nurses should also assess for redness, pain, excessive dryness, blurred vision, or signs of corneal irritation throughout care. Because protecting the eye is not optional in Bell's palsy. It is a continuous 24-hour priority. Recovery from Bell's palsy does not stop with medications alone. Rehabilitation and environmental control strategies are also important parts of long-term recovery. One nursing intervention is gentle tactile therapy or facial massage. Patients can perform gentle upward massage several times daily to help stimulate circulation, maintain muscle integrity, and reduce stiffness in weakened facial muscles. Mirror exercises are another important rehabilitation strategy. Patients practice facial movements while observing themselves in a mirror to retrain neuromuscular coordination. Exercises may include wrinkling the forehead, smiling, puffing out the cheeks, or whistling. The goal is gradual re-education of facial muscle movement as nerve function returns. Environmental control is also emphasized. Cold exposure and direct air drafts may worsen discomfort and trigger increased facial sensitivity in some patients. Patients should avoid prolonged cold environments, strong fans, or direct air conditioning blowing across the face. And finally, one of the biggest nursing responsibilities is encouragement. Recovery can feel slow and frustrating for patients. Consistent reinforcement, reassurance, and realistic expectations help patients stay engaged in rehabilitation throughout the healing process. So now let's bring the entire picture together. Bell's palsy is usually a temporary inflammatory paralysis of cranial nerve 7 with an overall favorable prognosis. The key to successful recovery is early intervention and supportive interdisciplinary care. Early corticosteroid therapy, ideally started within the first 72 hours, helps reduce inflammation before prolonged ischemic nerve damage develops. At the same time, rigorous ocular protection prevents secondary corneal injury while facial weakness persists. Facial exercises, rehabilitation strategies, and patient education support neuromuscular recovery and reduce long-term complications. And equally important is emotional reassurance. Many patients become frightened by the sudden facial drooping and worry about stroke, permanent paralysis, or disfigurement. Providing reassurance and education significantly reduces anxiety and improves coping during recovery. The encouraging news is that most patients recover fully within approximately 3 to 5 weeks, especially when treatment begins early. Recurrence is uncommon, and long-term outcomes are generally excellent. So when we think about Bell's palsy clinically, remember this. Rapid recognition, early steroid therapy, aggressive eye protection, and strong nursing support are the pillars of successful recovery. Bell's palsy is an acute unilateral paralysis of cranial nerve 7 caused by inflammation and edema of the facial nerve, often linked to viral reactivation such as herpes simplex. The swollen nerve becomes compressed within a confined canal, reducing blood flow and causing temporary ischemic dysfunction. Patients typically present with sudden unilateral facial drooping, inability to close the eye, mouth drooping, tearing, facial pain, drooling, and difficulty eating or speaking. One of the highest priority differentials is ruling out stroke. Unlike stroke, Bell's palsy commonly affects the entire side of the face, including the forehead. High-yield treatment centers on early corticosteroid therapy within the first 72 hours to reduce inflammation and improve recovery outcomes. Nursing priorities focus heavily on ocular protection because incomplete eyelid closure places the patient at risk for corneal injury. Artificial tears, eye ointment, eye shields, and manual eyelid closure at night are critical interventions. Facial rehabilitation includes gentle massage, mirror exercises, and neuromuscular retraining, while avoiding cold drafts and environmental triggers. Reassurance is essential because anxiety and fear of permanent paralysis are common. Most patients recover completely within 3 to 5 weeks with conservative interdisciplinary management, and recurrence is uncommon.